Summer has arrived in Scotland. I feel like we've been shoved straight into the depths, the fiery depths of summer. I know it might not seem like Scotland would be hot, and usually it like doesn't get that hot, but it was actually hotter here in Glasgow than it was in LA a few days ago, and that feels so wrong. But it actually ties in nicely with my current read, so I thought I would just film a little reading vlog or a little reading catch up, because I tend to get stuck just doing monthly wrap-ups. So here I am wanting to tell you what I'm reading more, not necessarily like at the same time as I'm reading it, but you know, a bit closer together. What I'm reading at the moment is my current book club book, and I think most people were like really excited to get to this one. I know that I was certainly excited. It's Death by Landscape by Elvia Wilk, which is a collection of essays, and I love a good essay collection, and this one is about literature and climate and humans, art, and like understanding what the world is going through right now. And yeah, it is really enjoyable. It sounds like quite a lot of like heavy topics, and like it is, but the way that it's written is really fun, really engaging. I've read a couple of essays and I'm so into it. The opening of the first one is really good, but I don't want to speak too much about this because it is my book club book, so I would rather keep my thoughts for that, and then maybe I'll reflect on it a bit more during like a monthly wrap-up or something. But yeah, I was like really wanting to get to this, so I'm so happy that I'm like reading it with a group of people, because I feel like there will be quite a lot to discuss. In this constellation of essays, Elvia Wilk asks us what kind of narratives will help us rethink our human perspective towards Earth. The book begins as an exploration of the role of fiction today and becomes a deep interrogation of the writing process and the self. So I think that sounds brilliant, and I'm fully enjoying what I've read so far. There's been a lot of underlining already. So with book club, my boyfriend's also in the book club with me, and we like take turns like sourcing the books, buying the books, and he actually bought this one, but I've already underlined loads, and I'm also reading it first, so he's gonna get like a personally annotated copy when he goes to read it. So I read 2 books recently, both fairly quickly, and I seem to really be in a place of reading fiction that is set in like an isolated town or an isolated village, like really far removed settings where it's like a little microcosm of society, and then something dark enters the space or something dark happens within the space. And I've read quite a few books in a very short succession that seemed like that. So there was Cursed Bread, and there was Strega, and then A Devil Comes to Town, and then I also just read these 2. So The Birthday Party by Laurent Mauvignier and The Weak Spot by Lucie Elven. I read this one first, and I've seen a lot of mixed reviews about this book, but for me, like, it was really well done. I really enjoyed it. So like I said, there's like an isolated setting, and then something dark comes into the setting and things unravel. I'm reading a lot of books about unraveling, which doesn't really surprise me. I'm very into that. So this book takes place in like deep rural France, in this kind of isolated hamlet called the Three Lone Sisters, and there's 3 houses. One of them is unoccupied. One of them houses a family, a father, mother, and a daughter, and the other house is occupied by an artist. And the novel kind of opens with this beautiful exposition, so we kind of understand the setting really well, and it dives into the consciousness of each character, and that's kind of how the chapters go. And the writing style is, I think, what is either making it a hit or a miss for some people, because I mean the plot is really good. It's a simple plot, but it's very good. but I think it's the way that it's written that people are either loving or hating. And for me, I really loved it. This book was kind of all about like tempo for me. There was a lot of restraint in like the first maybe like 2/3 or 3/4. Each chapter kind of focalizes on one character, and it's very stream of consciousness. There's long rambling sentences. They're very tangential. They're just going through their day. All of their thoughts are spilling out onto the page, and then it'll seamlessly shift into the next character. And I really like that. But I think for a lot of people, they feel, I think somebody said that they felt like they could like skip a few pages and they wouldn't have missed much, like they wouldn't really have missed any action. And honestly, yes, that is probably true. But I felt like you were really getting to know these characters so well, and the way that they think about things and the way they feel about things, and then how they act on things. And it was very much about the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves and about other people, and the stories that we tell others, or that we choose to tell to others. So yeah, we've got this Hamlet, we've got the cast of characters there, and the mother of the family, Marion, it's her birthday, and her husband is setting up like a birthday party for her in the evening for her to come home to after work. And two strange men arrive in the hamlet and knock on Christine's door, and things start to take a turn for the worse. And I have to say, the way that the tension is built up in this book is incredible, because you've got these long rambling sentences and they keep going on and on and on, but the tempo still feels quite slow, but you can tell there's something building up underneath, and it's almost like you want it to go faster because you're like scrambling to find out what happens, because just as you're learning about one character's perspective and what's happening in their location at their time, you like shift to another person, but in the back of your mind you know that like something is happening at that same moment to somebody else. But then there's like a switch that happens in like the last third or the last quarter, and the sentences are still the same. They're still long, they're still like really full of stream of consciousness, but some more action is added in there, and it's like the tempo just like kicks up, the pace like really like moves forward so quickly, and my heart was like racing. I was like having to steady myself whilst reading the book. Yeah, it's definitely like a thriller that's happening in slow motion, and then as you get to the end, everything unravels and tumbles out really fast, and I was along for the ride. I really enjoyed it. And like I said in my last video, I don't like saying this about books, but it would translate so well to the screen. Like I could see this making a great psychological thriller. So yeah, I would highly recommend this, only if you can deal with like long sentences and deal with things being a bit tangential and rambling and like taking their time to get there. I think you have to have a bit of patience with this book, but in my opinion, like for me, it paid off. I'm literally sweating just sitting here talking to you. I am not a summer child, I am a winter baby. I was not made for this weather. And then right after that, I think it was maybe I finished this in the afternoon, and then in the evening I picked up The Weak Spot by Lucie Elven. And again, this is in kind of a secluded town, a small town, and a woman takes up a job at a pharmacy. And I loved the birthday party, and I was fully prepared to love this. I thought I would really love this. Let me read you the back of the book, because this is like, I was completely sold. On a remote mountaintop somewhere in Europe, accessed by an ancient funicular, a small pharmacy sits on a square. As if attending confession, the townspeople carry their ailments and worries through its doors in search of healing, reassurance, and a witness to their bodies and the stories of their lives. One day, a young woman arrives in the town to apprentice under its charismatic pharmacist, August Malone. An outsider, she is lulled by the stories and secrets shared by both customers and colleagues, and slowly loses herself in this strange, beguiling, isolated community. As her new boss rises to the position of mayor, exploiting his intimate knowledge of those whose trust he gained, She realizes that something sinister is going on around her. Ambiguous, compelling, and bewitching, the weak spot is a fable about our longing for cures, answers, and an audience, and the silent manipulations of those who hold power in the world. Like, I was fully prepared to absolutely love this book. And not only does it sound great, but it's like a really good size, and the cover is amazing. It's like textured, and it's just a really simple, good cover. And like, I liked it, but I didn't love it, and I think I was a little bit disappointed because I really thought I was going to love it. So for me, this book felt like, you know, when you wake up from a really weird, like a weird dream, and you've just woken up and you're going over it in your head and you're like, oh my god, and you kind of feel a bit, you know, not yourself and feel a bit off, because your brain has just like really put you through something during the night. I don't know, like, I mean, I get that often. I dream really vividly a lot. It kind of feels like not just that, but so when you first wake up, it's really vivid, and then you literally, like, I don't know, go to like have a drink of water or go brush your teeth, and then you go to recall it and you cannot grasp it at all anymore. Like, your dream is gone. And that's what this felt like. It felt like nothing was trustworthy, not the protagonist, not the characters surrounding her, not the town, not the things that they were saying, like nothing. I didn't feel like I could trust anything. I didn't feel like I could grasp onto anything. And like, for me, that's really intriguing, but it just felt, I don't know, I wanted it to be more confessional. Like, on the blurb it says, as if attending confession, the townspeople carry their ailments and worries through its door in search of healing, reassurance, and a witness to their bodies and the stories of their lives. And I feel like it didn't really do that for me. There was like a little bit of that, but like not enough. I think my favorite character was definitely Elsa, who works in the pharmacy alongside the protagonist. And she's just this really interesting character who has this fraught relationship with her sister, and she does kind of confess a lot of things to the protagonist and to the pharmacist, and I felt like she was a solid character. Like, I felt like she was the only one that kind of gave anything, whereas the other ones don't really give anything, and I was kind of waiting for this young woman to become the receptacle of the town's confessions, and it didn't really happen. But there was some really gorgeous writing. It felt very atmospheric. It just had beautiful sentences, and I loved it for that. And I kind of loved the gauzy, hazy, out of reach, ungraspable feeling that it brought me. Like, I think it says beguiling on the back, and it did feel quite beguiling. The setting was really, really well done, and it felt like the setting was kind of feeding into the unreliable nature of the town, or the mythical fable-like energy of the town. The next morning when I left for work, it was summer again. Water vapors were rising from forests. The air had a warm, furtive smell. Some of the clouds looked like cracked earth, some like they were cultivating produce and had been tilled in irregular lines. A dramatic wisp rode like smoke past this lair, a superficial desperado. Like, there was just some really beautiful descriptive moments. Bluebells embalmed the woods, and my daily routine felt like an extension of my dreams. Yeah, like, see, that's the feeling I got. Like, it felt like an extension of something like that isn't quite tangible, that isn't quite real. It was interesting. I don't regret reading it. There's some really beautiful sentences. Maybe I had my hopes too high and it wasn't exactly what I hoped for, maybe. But yeah, that's definitely the vibe that I've been reading lately. Like, isolated setting, dark things happen. If you have any more recommendations along that line, then please let me know, because I am fully into that. And then I had the nicest time looking after, so I'm at my boyfriend's flat just now, and he has lovely neighbours, and they went down south for a weekend recently, and I got to look after their sweet little cat. And as a thank you, they gave me a book voucher, which was completely unnecessary because it was such a treat just to look after their cat. Like, I didn't need to be thanked because I was like, you're the one doing something for me. I get to spend time with your lovely cat. But they gave me a book voucher because they are sweethearts. And I treated myself to a couple of books. So I got The Door by Magda, which is on my list of 23 books I want to read in 2023. And like, this book is like just a good size, and it has that kind of like textured paper. I like my books to be good objects. I like my books to be objects that I can love and like really enjoy. And I feel like these books and this one, I love Fitzcarraldo edition books. Like, they're just gorgeous, every single one of them. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I've only heard good things, and I would like to try and read it very soon, definitely during the summer. And then, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but this is my first Virginia Woolf. I've never read Virginia Woolf, to my absolute shame. Honestly, I feel like that's quite shocking. So I got The Waves, and beautiful cover as well. Yeah, I don't know why I've never read Woolf. I think it's a thing of being a bit intimidated and knowing that it's going to like have quite an effect on me, and not knowing where to start. And yeah, I think when I really want to do something, I can be put off by that. But I'm very excited to finally dive into some of Woolf's work. Bernard, Ginny, Louis, Neville, Rhoda and Susan first meet as children by the sea, and their lives are forever changed as they share moments of triumph and tragedy. As they examine the relationship between past and present, they come to have a deeper understanding of each other and the meaning of life itself. A landmark of poetic, innovative fiction and the most experimental of Virginia Woolf's novels, The Waves is regarded as one of the greatest works ever written in the English language. So, I mean, if this is regarded as one of the greatest works of the English language, I really truly should already have read it by now, but I've not. So I will do my best to correct that sometime soon. But yeah, that's what I've been reading lately, and a couple of books that I've picked up. Oh God, it's hot. I think I might situate myself on the balcony and read a couple of essays in the sun. Oh, I might be struggling in this weather because I am a winter baby, but my sourdough starter is absolutely loving the hot weather, so I will be making bread dough tonight to bake bread in the morning, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, if you have any recommendations for isolated setting, dark things happen fiction, then please let me know, because I feel like I want to continue in this groove. But yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna film anymore. Maybe I will. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is goodbye. Love you. So I thought I would just close off this tiny little catch up here. I'm still very slowly making my way through Death by Landscape. I wouldn't say I'm like in a reading slump, but I feel like maybe I don't know, instead of devouring my books, I'm like lightly snacking on them and like savoring it. And Death by Landscape is proving very nourishing. It is very enjoyable, very thought-provoking, and I'm very excited to talk about it in my book club. Yeah, I would highly recommend this if you like good essays. There's just so many interesting topics. So speaking about like humans' relationship to the planet, The first essay is about how in quite a few short stories women turn into plants or want to turn into plants, and you know, what does that say about the state of us in our relationship to nature. There's a really good essay that uses the film Melancholia as a kind of exploration of climate change, the end of the world, desperation and despair and depression, and I really like that essay a lot. It's also one of my favorite films. If you haven't seen Melancholia, it is stunning, although very anxiety provoking, but it is beautiful, and Kirsten Dunst is amazing in it. And yeah, the last essay I read was about virtual reality and empathy, and yeah, it's just, I'm just really enjoying it. And Elvia Wilk seems to have this tone that is very, you can tell she's thoroughly researched, but it's almost conversational in a way. There's a bit of, there's some wittiness to her writing that I'm really enjoying. Yeah, so looking forward to all the chat in my book club about that. But yeah, I thought I'd just wrap this up here, and then I noticed that we're at 2,000 subscribers, which seems absolutely ridiculous, but also wildly lovely that you like listening to me talk about books. And I mean, that's my favorite thing to talk about, so I'm so glad that you're here and listening and giving me someone to talk to. And I guess in BookTube tradition, that means that I will do a 2K Q&A. If you want to ask me any questions, please do. It doesn't necessarily have to be about books. You could just leave some questions in the comments downstairs, or you can send them to me on Instagram, and we will sit down and we will have a juicy little chat. You can ask anything you want, doesn't mean that I'll answer it, but you can ask away. Yeah, I'm just so appreciative of all of you for being here, for communicating with me in the comments, for watching the videos, for giving me great recommendations. It really means a lot to me, and I think that this community is just so sweet and so warm, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll answer your question. I'll see you next time.